Now we are moving on to the next chapter, that is registration under GST. Okay friends, now we are going to discuss concept block number 8, page number 190, registration under GST. So in this concept block, in this chapter, total we have 9 sections, okay, and in that 9 sections, starting from section 22 to section 30, section 22 to section 30. So section 22 deals with who is liable to get registered, okay, liable to get registered is given in section 22, whereas section 23 exemption from registration, who are not liable to get registered, okay, not liable to get registered is given in section 23. Section 24 is compulsory registration. Compulsory registration is given in section 24. These sections are very important from exam point of view, and lot of concept based questions will be tested from this. So this is actually dealing with legality of registration. So the legality of registration is given in these 3 sections, which are important from exam point of view. Definitely concept based questions will be tested here, whereas the remaining 6 sections are mainly for the purpose of MCQ. So procedural related sections are the remaining 3 sections. Section 25, procedure for registration, and section 26 deals with deemed registration, and section 27 is special procedure for CTP and NRTP. Special procedure for CTP and NRTP, that is given in section 27. Then next 3 sections talks about special cases. What is that special cases? Section 28, amendment in registration, okay, amendment in registration, section 28. Section 29, cancellation of registration, and section 30, revocation of cancellation, that is withdrawal of or revoking the cancellation order. So these are the 9 sections that we have in registration chapter, and section 22 talks about liable to get registered. When a person is liable to get registered, whenever their aggregate turnover exceeds threshold limit, that person is liable to get registered. That is what section 22 talks about, okay. So section 22 says that when a person is liable to get registered, whenever their aggregate turnover exceeds the threshold limit for registration, they are liable to get registered. What is that threshold limit? 3 points you need to remember. If you are doing business only in one state, okay, if you are doing business only in one state, and if that state is a special category state, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, 4 MMTM, you are doing business only in one state and that state is special category state, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, then the limit will be 10 lakhs. Suppose if you are doing business in one state and that state is use stamp state, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Telangana, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya and Puducherry, then the limit will be 20 lakhs, let it be goods or services. If you are doing business in one state and that is in other than this MMTN and U-stamp, then if you are exclusively engaged in supply of goods, it will be 40 lakhs. If you are engaged in supply of goods as well as services, then it will be 20 lakhs. Also, we need to remember that if you are exclusively engaged in supply of pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, ice cream, edible ice, there is no aerated waters here, bricks and roofing tiles. If you are engaged in supply of these goods, then 40 lakhs limit is not applicable, the 20 lakhs limit will be applicable. Okay. So, what you need to know is that suppose if you are doing business in, so related to section 22, we are trying to understand, that is A Limited commenced business in Tamil Nadu. A Limited commenced business in Tamil Nadu, and that too they are engaged exclusively in supply of goods, or they are engaged in supply of goods plus services. Then what will be the limit? So what will be the threshold limit? So simple, threshold limit for registration, Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is not in MMTN U-stamp, therefore, and that too they are exclusively engaged in supply of goods, therefore the threshold limit is 40 lakhs. If they are engaged in supply of goods plus services, then the limit will be 20 lakhs. Suppose if they are doing business in Nagaland, and again they are engaged only in supply of goods, and they are engaged in supply of goods plus services, then what will be the limit? If they are engaged Nagaland is in MMTN, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland. So whatever the case may be, the limit will be always 10 lakhs. For MMTN states, the limit will be 10 lakhs. Okay. Then suppose if they are doing business in Telangana, and they are engaged in only supply of goods or supply of goods plus services, then Telangana is in U-stamp. Okay. So Nagaland, we need to check which state it will be. Nagaland is in that MMTN, special category states. So that's why that limit. Telangana is in U-stamp states. So that's why for goods it will be 20 lakhs. Goods plus service also 20 lakhs. Always the limit will be 20 lakhs only. Okay. And if they are doing business in other states, then that limits. Okay. Then suppose if they are doing business in Maharashtra is an example of other states, correct? Maharashtra is an example of other states. In Maharashtra, they are exclusively engaged in supply of pan masala and tobacco products. They are dealing only in pan masala and tobacco products. Pan masala and tobacco products. Then pan masala and tobacco products means the limit of 40 lakhs will not be applicable. Actually, other states means 40 lakhs will be applicable, goods only. But then also the limit will be 20 lakhs only. Why? Because it is that notified goods. Because this is that notified goods. So whichever notified goods, what are the notified goods for lower threshold limit 20 lakhs? That is pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, ice cream, edible ice, and then bricks and roofing tiles. The same goods are there even in composition scheme, but there we have extra, so aerated waters, but here we don't have. That's the difference. Okay. And suppose if it is goods plus services, if it is goods plus services, then what will be the limit? Then the limit will be 20 lakhs. If it is other than notified goods, if it is other than notified goods, then other than notified goods, then what will be the limit? Then the limit will be 40 lakhs. Other than notified goods, the limit will be 40 lakhs. Now see this. What if they are making notified goods as well as non-notified goods? Suppose if they are making notified goods as well as non-notified goods, notified goods plus non-notified goods, then notified goods plus non-notified goods, then what will be the limit? Then the limit will be 40 lakhs only. Why sir 40 lakhs? See, they are exclusively engaged in supply of notified goods only 20 lakhs. Okay. So otherwise it will be 40 lakhs only. And what if they are engaged in supply of, goods, that is non-notified goods plus interest income. See, actually interest income is exempted services, but there is a relaxation that is given. If they are exclusively engaged in supply of goods and they have only interest income, then also they are eligible for a limit of 40 lakhs. That is the advantage. Okay, but only interest income, they should not have any other services. Then the limit will be 40 lakhs. That is the answer here. So these points only I gave. For 4 northeastern states, MTN 10 lakhs, let it be goods or services. For U stamp 20 lakhs for goods and services. For other 21 states, 20 lakhs limit for services and 40 lakh limit for goods. And the limit of 40 lakhs is applicable only in case of exclusive supply of goods. Okay. Suppose if they are engaged in supply of goods as well as supply of services, then the limit will be 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs. The limit of 40 lakhs is not applicable in the following cases. What are they? If they are voluntarily, they have registered, or they are compulsorily registered, then persons who is making exclusive supply of ice cream, edible ice, pan masala, tobacco products, bricks and roofing tiles. Okay. Then suppose if they are doing business from more than one state. So all these are applicable if they are doing business only in single state, correct? If they are doing business only in single state, so this will be applicable. What if they are doing business in more than one state? What we need to do? Remember 3 points. First, one of the state, out of the given states, one of the state is a special category state and taxable supplies are made from that state. One of the state is a special category state and so supplies are made from multiple states and taxable supplies are made from special category states. So out of the given states, one of the state is a special category states and taxable supplies are made from that state. Then the limit will be 10 lakhs. And suppose if this good, like if they are registered in multiple states and one of the state is U stamp state, then 40 lakhs not applicable. So one of the states should be, none of the states should be MMTN and U stamp. Out of the given states, none of the states should be MMTN and U stamp, and they are making exclusive supply of goods 40 lakhs. Balancing figure 20 lakhs, other cases 20 lakhs. Okay. Now for example, they are doing business A limited is there. They are doing business in Tamil Nadu, then Kerala and Nagaland. Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Nagaland. Okay. And in these 3 states, taxable supplies, exempted supplies, if you see, exempted supplies, okay, all are goods only, taxable supplies and exempted supplies all are goods only. And in Tamil Nadu, it is 20 lakhs, Tamil Nadu it is 10 lakhs, and Kerala it is 5 lakhs, Nagaland it is 2 lakhs, exempted supplies in Tamil Nadu 4 lakhs and in Kerala 2 lakhs, and we don't have any exempted supplies in Nagaland. Now what is the aggregate turnover of A Limited? Aggregate turnover of A Limited, we need to take all. So 10 plus 5, 15, 17, 18, 19, 19 plus 4, 22 lakhs. So 23 lakhs. Now what is the applicable threshold limit? They are doing business in more than one state, and one of the state is a special category state. Therefore, applicable threshold limit is 10 lakhs. Applicable threshold limit is 10 lakhs. Therefore, A Limited is liable to get registered. A Limited liable to get registered. And they should register in all 3 states, and they should register in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Nagaland. Okay, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Nagaland, they need to register. Now suppose if there is a change in this, and slight change, it so happens that this Nagaland 2 lakhs taxable is becoming exempted 2 lakhs. Then what will happen? Aggregate turnover same. Aggregate turnover of A Limited is same. What is that aggregate turnover of A Limited? 20. So 23 lakhs. And what is the applicable threshold limit? The applicable threshold limit is not 10 lakhs. The applicable threshold limit is 20 lakhs. Why? They should be making supplies in one of the state which is a special category states, and taxable supplies should be made from special category states. Here taxable supplies are not made from special category state. Therefore, applicable threshold limit is 20 lakhs. Applicable threshold limit is 20 lakhs. Now, whether A Limited is liable to get registered? Yes. Therefore, A Limited liable to get registered because the aggregate turnover exceeds threshold limit. Therefore, A Limited is liable to get registered. A Limited is liable to get registered, and they should register in which states? They should register in Tamil Nadu and Kerala only, but not in Nagaland. Only in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. They should register in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, but not in Nagaland. Okay, they should register in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, but not in Nagaland. Why not in Nagaland? Because they are making exempted supplies in Nagaland. A person who is making only exempted supplies in a state is not required to get registered in that state. That's why. Okay. So then, yet another situation. That is, suppose here this Nagaland is changed to Telangana. Then what will be the applicable threshold limit? Same. Aggregate turnover of A Limited 23 lakhs. See, none of the state should be MMTN use stamp. Okay. So aggregate turnover of A Limited 23 lakhs. Applicable threshold limit is 20 lakhs. None of the state should be MMTN use stamp, and goods are made, supply of goods are made, then only 40 lakhs. So therefore, applicable threshold limit is 20 lakhs. Therefore, A Limited liable to get registered. A Limited liable to get registered, and they should register where? They should register in all three states, in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Telangana. Okay. Now, slight change to this question. So this is another part, that is Nagaland I am changing to Telangana. Nagaland I am changing to Telangana, and this 2 lakhs of taxable I am changing to 2 lakhs of exempted. Then will the answer change? No, 20 lakhs only. Then also the answer will be same, the same ditto, same answer. There is no change at all, the same answer. Aggregate turnover 23 lakhs, applicable threshold limit 20 lakhs, and no change. Why? Because none of the states should be MMTN use stamp, and A Limited is liable to get registered, but they should register in which places? Tamil Nadu and Kerala, but not in Telangana. Why not in Telangana? Because in Telangana they are engaged in exempted supplies due to that reason. Okay. Now, yet another situation. So this last situation, say this, what if this is not Telangana but Karnataka? This is not Telangana but Karnataka. And what will happen in this case? In this case, the applicable threshold limit will be aggregate turnover of A Limited. Aggregate turnover of A Limited is 23 lakhs and applicable threshold limit is 40 lakhs. Why? Because none of the state is special category, none of the state is MMTN use stamp, and they are exclusively engaged in supply of goods. Therefore, applicable threshold limit is 40 lakhs. Applicable threshold limit is 40 lakhs. And whether A Limited is liable to get registered? A Limited not liable to get registered. Why not liable to get registered? Because their aggregate turnover does not exceed threshold limit. So this is the points that we need to remember under section 22. So when a person is required to get registered. So this section 21, 12, 23 and 24, this is an overview. So what we have completed so far is based on aggregate turnover 22 subsection 1, when a person is required to get registered. Then 23 says a person is not required to get registered in some cases. When? If they are making exclusively exempted supplies. Exclusively exempted supplies includes exclusively non-taxable supplies. Then they are not required to register, whatever may be the turnover. Or if they are an agriculturist, they are making only supplies from the cultivation of land, then also they are not. And they should be cultivator. And they are making supplies only out of cultivation of land, no other supplies. Whatever may be the turnover, they are not required to get registered. Then exclusively making RCM supplies, that is, they will be exclusively making RCM supplies on which supplier will not pay GST, but the recipient will be paying GST. Okay. So supplier will not pay GST, but recipient will pay GST under RCM. So exclusively RCM supplies means there is no burden on the supplier. So recipient only should pay. That's the reason why supplier is not required to get registered. So these are the cases where a person is exempted from registration. Okay. Then as per section 22 as well as 24, there is mandatory registration irrespective of turnover. That is, in section 22 there are 3 cases. That is, if you are already registered under the earlier law, you need to get registered even under GST, or whenever there is a transfer of business, the transferee should get registered, or whenever there is amalgamation, merger, demerger, the resulting entity should be registered. But The difference between 22 compulsory registration versus 24 compulsory registration is that in 22 compulsory registration, we will first register, and if the aggregate turnover does not exceed the threshold limit, we can make an application for cancellation of registration. That is there. Okay. If ATO does not exceed threshold limit, if ATO falls below threshold, comma, can make application for cancellation of registration. Can make application for cancellation of registration. That advantage is there where in case of section 22 compulsory registration, but 24 compulsory registration cannot make application for cancellation, cannot make application for cancellation, cannot make application for cancellation even if aggregate turnover falls below threshold limit, falls below threshold, even then application cannot be made for cancellation of registration. That's the basic difference between 22 compulsory registration and 24 compulsory registration. And 22 compulsory registration is applicable in which case? So already registered under the earlier law, or transfer of business, or so transfer pursuant to a scheme of amalgamation or demerger. Whereas 24 compulsory registration is applicable in case of I creations. I creations, you need to remember this keyword I creations. I for interstate supply of goods other than handicrafts. I for interstate supply of goods other than handicrafts. C for casual taxable person other than handicrafts. Then R, recipient liable to pay GST under RCM, 9 subsection 3. Then ICRE, E for e-commerce operator. A, agent making supplies on behalf of principal. And T, TDS deductor. I, input service distributor. And O, that is OIDR supplier located outside India. And N, NRTP. Then yes, supplier of goods through e-commerce operator, only goods through e-commerce operator, not supplier of services through e-commerce operator. So these people are compulsorily required to get registered irrespective of the threshold limit. Voluntarily also a person can get registered even though they are not covered under no threshold limit exceeded or compulsory registration. Even then voluntarily also they can register, but if they register voluntarily they need to pay. For example, my aggregate turnover does not exceed the threshold limit, voluntarily I got registered. Even if I have registered voluntarily, I need to pay GST. Okay. So then there are some points in this regard. Every person who obtains GSTIN, that is every person who registers, will get a registration certificate. In that registration certificate there will be one number called as GSTIN, GST identification number. This GST identification number is a 15-digit number. It's a 15-digit number. In that the first 2 digits signifies state code, next 10 digits signifies permanent account number, and the next one will be entity code. Entity code means 1, 2, 3 different registrations within the state, and then an alphabet Z constant, and last will be checksum digit. So this is the 15-digit registration number. And a person should obtain registration in every state from where he makes taxable supplies. And within the state, registration is required only in case of different place of business. Okay. So within the state, registration is required only in case of different place of business. Suppose within the state, can they go for single registration also? Yes, they can go for single registration by showing one place as their principal place of business and other places as their additional place of business. Then look into this. These are some illustrations. Already we discussed some illustrations, but these are some illustrations on this where they have to register. Mr. X is exclusively engaged in supply of exempted goods in Sikkim. Sikkim will come which place? U stamp. For that the limit will be 20 lakhs. And as they are making exclusively exempted supplies, they are not at all required to get registered. Section 23. Illustration 2. Mr. X is making supply of goods in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Meghalaya. So Meghalaya is a special category state, but taxable supplies are made. No, taxable supplies are not. No, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram. Meghalaya is not a special category state, but it comes in use stamp. So therefore, that 40 lakhs limit will not be applicable. Only 20 lakhs limit will be applicable. And aggregate turnover 22 lakhs. So therefore, they need to register. And where they need to register? Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, but not in Meghalaya, because they are making exempted supplies in Meghalaya. Then illustration 3. Madhav Enterprises, a sole proprietorship firm, opened a shopping complex dealing in supply of goods at multiple locations, that is in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Tripura in the month of June. It has furnished the following details relating to the supply made at such multiple locations for the month of June. Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Tripura, intrastate supply of taxable goods 22 lakh 50, and Tripura 7 lakhs, intrastate supply of exempted goods 6 lakhs, interest received from banks on FD 60,000, intrastate supply of non-taxable goods 21 lakhs. Now, they are only engaged in supply of goods. They are only engaged in supply of goods. Okay. And out of these 3 states, one of the state is a special category state and the taxable supplies are made from that state. Therefore, the applicable threshold limit will be 10 lakhs. And here as the aggregate turnover exceeds 10 lakhs, they need to register. However, they need to register only in Himachal Pradesh and Tripura but not in Uttarakhand, because in Uttarakhand they are making exempted supplies. That is the answer. So, total aggregate turnover 57 lakh 50, the applicable threshold limit will be 10. And as the aggregate turnover exceed threshold limit, they need to register, but they are not required to register in Uttarakhand since they are not making taxable supply from Uttarakhand. Then number 2, second part, explain with reasons whether your answer in 1 will change in the following independent cases. If Mahadev Enterprises is dealing in taxable supply of goods only from Himachal Pradesh, so we don't have the other details, so don't say Uttarakhand and Tripura, taxable supplies only in Himachal Pradesh. So then goods, Himachal Pradesh is not in MMT and use stamp, single state, other states exclusively engaged in supply of goods. So therefore, the applicable limit will be 40 lakhs and their turnover is 22 lakh 50. So therefore, they are not required to get registered. The applicable threshold limit is 40 lakhs and they are not liable to register as their aggregate turnover does not exceed 40 lakhs. Then 2B, if Mahadev Enterprises is dealing in taxable supply of goods and services only from Himachal Pradesh, taxable supply of goods and services. If they are engaged in taxable supply of goods and services, then the limit will be 20 lakhs. Why? Because if they are exclusively engaged in supply of goods only 40 lakhs, partly taxable and partly exempted goods, goods and services, then it will be 20 lakhs. So therefore, the applicable limit will be 20 lakhs and in this case their aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. Therefore, they are required to get registered in Himachal Pradesh. Then next question, next part 2C. If Mahadev Enterprises is dealing in taxable supply of goods only from Himachal Pradesh and has also affected interstate supply of taxable goods amounting to 4 lakhs. As they are making interstate supply of goods, they are compulsorily required to get registered irrespective of the threshold limit as per section 24. As per section 24, irrespective of the threshold limit, they are liable to get registered. So this is how the questions could come on 22, 23 and 24. We completed the legality of this registration. Okay. So legality 22, 23 and 24, that part we completed. Now we are moving on to 25, 26 and 27, that is procedural part. In that, section 25 talks about procedure for registration. When it comes to procedure for registration, you need to remember 6 forms. REG 1, application for registration. REG 2, acknowledgement. REG 3, notice for discrepancy. And REG 4, reply to the notice. So first we will make application in REG1. Once we make application, we will get acknowledgement REG2. Then notice, if any, will be given in REG3. REG4 is reply to the notice, and REG5 rejection of application. REG6 certificate of registration. These are the 6 forms you need to remember. Now what happens once we make application for registration? Acknowledgement will be generated immediately, and from the date of application, within 7 working days, either they need to grant registration certificate or they need to give notice, either REG3 or REG6, either REG3 or REG6 within 7 working days. So REG1 to REG3 7 working days, REG1 to REG6 7 working days. Suppose if they give registration certificate, okay. If they are not giving registration certificate, means they have given notice. So from the notice date, within 7 working days we need to give reply. So REG3 to REG4, REG3 to REG4 7 working days. Once we give reply, either they will reject the application or they will grant the certificate within 7 working days. So REG4 to REG5 or REG6 will be within 7 working days. Okay. Then we have a concept of Aadhaar authentication in registration. So when we make application for registration, there are 2 parts, part A and part B of REG1. In that part B, we have an option to select Aadhaar authentication. So either we can do Aadhaar authentication or we can submit other documents, eKYC. Suppose if we select Aadhaar authentication, the registration will be granted immediately. If you are not selecting Aadhaar authentication, the registration is granted subject to physical verification. So option 1, Aadhaar authentication. After submission of part B of REG1, an authentication link will be sent to the registered mobile number and email, and you are completing the successful Aadhaar authentication through OTP. Now registration certificate to be granted within 7 working days of authentication or else deemed registration. So once you complete the authentication, that is called as the date of submission of application. From there, within 7 working days, they need to grant the registration. Then suppose if you are not able to complete the authentication, what is the time limit to complete the authentication? From the time you filed part B, the authentication should be completed within 15 days. So within that 15 days, if you have not completed the authentication, then in that case, what will happen? Then, so it is as good as you file the application after 15 days without Aadhaar authentication. It is as good as you file the application without authentication. If fails to authenticate via Aadhaar OTP within 15 days, application is deemed to be submitted after expiry of 15 days without Aadhaar authentication. Now thereafter, the proper officer will carry out the physical verification and will grant the registration within 30 days. But the 30 days will be counted after 15 days. Suppose if you make application without Aadhaar authentication, from the application itself, the 30 days will be counted. The 30 days will be counted from the date of application itself. And after physical verification, the registration certificate will be granted. Suppose if they fail to do the physical verification and grant registration within 30 days, then also registration is deemed to have been granted. Then suppose if notice wants to be given, yes, they can give the notice within 7 working days, or else also deemed registration, or else also deemed registration. There are multiple places where we have come across deemed registration. What is that? First, so total this can be grouped into 4 situations. So whenever you get a question on deemed registration, these 4 points you need to write. First, what will happen? You may select authentication or you may not select authentication. If you select authentication, you completed authentication, not completed authentication. These are the 4 cases. First, you selected authentication and completed authentication. You selected authentication and you completed authentication. Okay. Then you selected authentication and you have not completed authentication. Then you did not select authentication. Authentication not opted. Suppose you selected authentication and completed the authentication. Now you are not getting certificate of registration, REG6 or notice within 7 working days from the date of authentication, then registration is deemed to have been granted. Or you have opted authentication and completed authentication, you got a notice in REG3 and you gave a reply to the notice in REG 4, and from the date you gave reply within 7 working days, neither they rejected the application nor they gave the certificate, then also deemed registration. Other authentication opted but not completed and 15 days is over, thereafter within 30 days registration not granted, then also deemed registration. Then last case, other authentication not opted, you made an application and within 30 days from application they have not granted the registration, then also deemed registration. These are the 4 cases where there will be deemed registration. Now these only I have given as illustrations. You can see next page, page number 197. Part B filed on 25/5/2021 without selecting other authentication. Part B has been filed on 25/5 without selecting other authentication. Up to what date registration may be granted, failing which deemed to be registered. Here assume all days as working days, but that is not required because 30 days will be counted here because we selected without other authentication. So 25/5 plus 30 days, that is 24/6 is the time limit by which registration should be granted, otherwise deemed registration. Another illustration, Part B filed on 25/5/2021 by selecting other authentication, and such authentication is completed on 3/6/2021, up to which date registration may be granted, failing which deemed to be registered. Assume that all days are working days. So what is the date on which we made an application? Such authentication is completed on 3/6. 3/6 is the date of application. From there, within 7 working days, either we need to get a notice or we need to get the registration certificate. 7 working days from 3/6, that is 10/6, assuming all days are working days. By 10/6 we need to get the registration certificate, otherwise it will be deemed registration. Then illustration 3, Part B is filed on 25/5/2021 by selecting other authentication, but failed to complete the other authentication. So they have not completed, so but they selected. So 25/5/2021, first 15 days. First 15 days means, so that will be 9/6/2021, and thereafter again 30 days from there, 9/6/2021 plus 30 days, that is 9/7/2021, that is the time limit by which registration will be granted, otherwise deemed registration. First 15 days for completing authentication, thereafter it is submitted application without authentication, so 30 days. Then question number 4, Part B filed on 25/5/2021 by selecting other authentication, and such authentication is completed on 4/6/2021. No officer gave a notice on 8/6 and reply to notice 13/6. Now from 13/6 within 7 working days, if they are not granting, means 26/2021, if they are not granting registration, then registration is deemed to have been granted. Now as the date of completion of authentication is taken as the date of submission of application, what if we filed Part B? Actually in 2 places we have come across that application for registration should be made within 30 days. One is revised tax invoice. In case of revised tax invoice, from the date you are liable to get registered, within 30 days you need to make application for registration, otherwise you cannot give revised tax invoice. That is one point. Another point is, so in case of 18(1)(a), that is availment of ITC on closing stock, from the date when you are liable to get registered, within 30 days you need to make application for registration, then only you can take ITC on the closing stock. Suppose if you are not making application for registration within 30 days, these 2 benefits you will not get. So here what happened, one person filed application within 30 days, that is filed Part B within 30 days, but by the time authentication is completed, it goes beyond 30 days. Means it is as good as application not made within 30 days, and he will be losing those benefits. Say this, Mr. A commenced business on 15/5/2021 and crossed the threshold limit on 30/6/2021. He submitted Part B of REG 1 on 25/7/2021 by selecting other authentication. Such authentication is completed on 31/7/2021. Can Mr. A issue revised tax invoice? Can Mr. A issue revised tax invoice if the registration certificate is granted on 2/8 when the authentication is completed 31/7? So when he is liable to get registered, 36. So it is beyond 30 days. Beyond 30 days, so he cannot give revised tax invoice. Also, he cannot avail the ITC on closing stock as per section 18(1)(a). Okay. Then, when other authentication is not applicable. So there are few cases where other authentication is not applicable. Total 9 points you need to remember. Government and its family. What is it? Government and its family? Central or state government department, public sector undertaking, local authority and statutory body. Okay, this central government, state government department, local authority, statutory body and PSU, for them it is not applicable. Other authentication not applicable. Then not a citizen of India, not a citizen of India. So because all individuals are required to undergo authentication, but not a citizen of India, they will not have Aadhaar number, na, that's why. Then partners other than managing or authorized partner. Why? Because authorized or managing partner alone will go for other authentication, will undergo authentication, but other partners not required. Same way, for a HUF, Karta only will be required to undergo authentication, others are not required. For any other person, only the authorized signatory is required to undergo authentication, others are not required. So, citizen, not a citizen of India, other than Karta, other than managing or authorized partner, other than authorized signatory, those 4 points. Then next, UIN holder. So these 9 people are not required to undergo authentication. So that can be tested as a short note question. Then next one, bank details. Whenever we make application for registration, we need to furnish the bank details along with registration application. Okay. So suppose at the time of registration, if we don't have the bank account number, then what to do? Then in that case, we can make an application for registration without bank account, and at a later point of time, we need to furnish the bank details. What is that time limit? That time limit is 45 days from the date we get the registration certificate, or the due date of filing 3B, first 3B, whichever is earlier. By that time they need to furnish the bank details. For example, if the registration is granted on 3/11, if the registration is granted on 3/11 and 45 days from 3/11 is 18/12, and if November month only they get registration certificate, then we need to file for November month by December 20th, 3B. So 20th December, whichever is earlier will be 18th December. Suppose if the registration is granted on 18/11, 45 days will be 2/1/2021, and for November month 3B has to be filed by 20th of December. So whichever is earlier is 20th of December. So this is the time limit by which we need to furnish the bank details. Then time limit for making application for registration. Usually the time limit for registration application is 30 days from the date a person is liable to get registered. However, in 2 cases, the time limit for application for registration is at least 5 days before commencement of business. What are those 2 cases? That is a CTP and a NRTP, casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person who come from, so non-resident taxable person who come from other country to this country, and CTP from another state to this state. So they are required to get a temporary registration. When they need to make application for registration, at least 5 days before commencement of business, they need to make application for registration. And in all other cases, within 30 days from the date when the application, whenever they are liable to get registered. Suppose if they are already registered under the earlier law, within 30 days from the commencement of GST law, transfer of business within 30 days from the date of transfer, amalgamation, merger or demerger. So the date on which that new entity gets a certificate of incorporation from the date within 30 days, or any other case of compulsory registration other than CTP, NRTP within 30 days from the date when they are liable to get registered, that is commencement of business, and whenever aggregate turnover exceed 20 lakhs or threshold limit from the date within 30 days. That's the usual time limit for making application. Remember, CTP, NRTP is required to file application at least 5 days before commencement of business. Then other provisions applicable to CTP, NRTP. So usually casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. So who are they? So you can see this. CTP means a person who occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods or service or both in the course or furtherance of business, whether as a principal or agent in any other capacity. So, and he has no fixed place of business. Whereas NRTP is also same, occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods and they don't have fixed place of business or residence in India. They are called as NRTP. And CTP undertakes the transactions in the course or furtherance of business, no such requirement for NRTP. And CTP will have a permanent account number. Through that permanent account number, they will be making application for registration, but NRTP will not have a permanent account number because they are from outside India. Na? So therefore, with their passport number, NRTP with passport, they can take a NRTP registration, and does not have a permanent account number, he can take registration as NRTP with passport. And CTP will make application for registration in REG 1, whereas NRTP will make application for registration in REG 9. And return, CTP will file regular return. What is that regular return? GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, but NRTP will be filing return in GSTR 5. Okay, so these are the differences. So therefore, if you get a question on distinguish between CTP and NRTP, you need to write this. Now, what is the type of registration that will be given to them? Temporary registration or permanent registration? It will be temporary registration only. For what period? Up to 90 days. Suppose if they are asking for 50 days, 50 days. If they are asking for 120 days, 90 days. And after 90 days, they can again make an application for extension, but that cannot go beyond 90 days, which means in total at a stretch, more than 180 days, they cannot get a registration. Beyond 180 days, if they want to continue to do the business, they need to get a permanent registration. So validity of registration of CTP and NRTP shall be for a period of maximum 90 days. On sufficient cause being shown, it can be extended for a further period of 90 days. And for whatever period they are doing business in India, so they need to compute their liability. What is that? Gross liability minus input tax credit, that net liability they need to compute, and that amount they need to pay as advance tax. So they need to deposit an advance tax. Who need to deposit advance tax? The CTP and NRTP are required to deposit an advance tax. How much is that advance tax? Estimated net tax liability. Estimated net tax liability they need to deposit as advance tax for the period for which they are making application for registration. Now again, so initial 90 days over, again they go for extension, again they need to pay the advance tax. This advance tax, whatever they have deposited, that will go into the electronic cash ledger. So whatever balance that is there in the electronic cash ledger will be adjusted towards the liability, and the balance, if any, will be refunded to that person. So this is about advance tax. So we completed the 3 sections: 25 procedure for registration, 26 deemed registration, and 27 special provisions for CTP and NRTP. Now last 3 sections. Section 28, amendment in registration. Whenever a person whose registration particulars initially submitted is changing, but other than change in permanent account number, if there is any change in permanent account number, that will not be called as amendment, that will be called as making a new application, because permanent account number itself changes. So then in that case they need to make new application and cancel the old registration. Whereas other than change in permanent account number, they need to notify the department about that change. In that, we will divide that into 2 fields: core fields and non-core fields. 3 fields are core fields. What are they? Change in name of business, change in address. That address can be principal place of business or additional place of business, or change in top management, that is managing director, karta, partners, etc. Then in that case, that is called as core field. Whereas any other change in bank account, change in mobile number, change in email ID, change in the type of goods and services they deal with, all those are other changes. What is the difference? If it is core field, that will be subject to approval by the proper officer. If it is a non-core field, then no need of any approval by the proper officer, automatically the change is taking place. That is in the portal. Okay. So core field, approval of proper officer is required. Whereas in case of non-core field, so there is no approval, deemed approval. Then there is a retrospective amendment. So what is this retrospective amendment means? That is, today we make an application for amendment and the order is also passed. But what is the effective date of amendment? From today, the date when order is given. But can it be from a prior date? Yes, if it is possible only with the order of commissioner. So retrospective amendment in registration is possible only with the order of commissioner. Then what is the procedure for amendment in registration? First, they need to make application for amendment within 15 days from the change. So whenever there is a change in the particulars, so within 15 days they need to notify the department and they need to file a form, that is REG 14. Once they make REG 14, then so REG 3 notice will be given by the officer if it is related to core field. And what is the time limit within which the notice to be given? Within 15 working days they need to give notice. Suppose if no notice, they will pass an order. And if they give notice, what is the time limit for reply? 7 working days. And thereafter within 7 working days, they need to pass the order. So, or they may reject the application. So, that is the procedure for amendment in registration. Then section 29, cancellation of registration. There are total 8 situations wherein cancellation of registration is possible. In that, the first 3 cases, either the registered person can make application for cancellation or proper officer can initiate cancellation. What are those first 3 cases? Transfer or discontinuance of business. This you need to remember. What are those cases? Any transfer or discontinuance of business, or change in constitution of business. What is this change in constitution of business means? So individual is becoming, like partnership firm becomes private limited company, like that. So or permanent account number changes, any case, change in constitution of business. Or taxable person no longer liable to be registered. So they registered because their aggregate turnover exceed threshold limit. But now the aggregate turnover falls below the threshold limit, they can make an application for cancellation of registration. So these are the 3 cases where registered person can make application for cancellation or proper officer suo motu can initiate cancellation. Then there are remaining 5 cases where proper officer will initiate cancellation. What are they? So you have contravened the provisions of the act or rules, or you are under normal scheme but you did not file returns for consecutive 6 months, or you are under composition scheme and you did not file returns for consecutive 3 periods. Then you have obtained registration by fraud, or you got the registration certificate but you did not commence a business within 6 months, means you voluntarily obtained registration but not commence business within 6 months. These are the 5 cases. Contravention of the provisions, 2 points related to returns. Normal scheme not filed returns for 6 months and composition scheme not filed return for 3 periods, and then registration obtained by fraud, obtained voluntary registration, not commence business within 6 months. These 5 cases, proper officer will initiate cancellation of registration. What will happen when there is a cancellation of registration? Already we saw in 18 subsection 4 read with 29 subsection 5, so much of the ITC on the closing stock we will reverse. If you have any balance, that will be lapsed. If there is any shortfall, we need to pay. So that is the connection. Then what is the meaning of contravention of the provisions of the act or rules? Suppose if you get a question like, what are the cases where there is cancellation of registration? These 8 points you need to write. Suppose if you get a question like, what are the contravention of the provisions that leads to cancellation of registration? Then, so remember 3 wrong invoice. Wrong invoice. You are issuing invoice or bill of supply in violation of provisions. Wrong invoice. Then wrong address. You are not doing business in the place where you have obtained registration. Okay. Or wrong ITC. Avails ITC in contravention of section 16. Wrong address, wrong invoice, wrong ITC. 3 wrong. Then 3 violations. Number 1. So violation of anti-profiteering. Anti-profiteering provisions will come into the picture whenever you need to pass on the benefit to the next person by reducing the tax. So actually tax rate has been reduced for your supply. You need to pass on that benefit by reducing the price. But what you are doing, you retain the same price and you increase your margin. That is known as profiteering. In case of profiteering, anti-profiteering authority will pass an order, and if you violate the anti-profiteering provisions or you are not furnishing the bank details within the time, violation of furnishing the bank details or violation of rule 86B. What is that 86B? Non-payment of we have to pay 1% through cash ledger. Suppose if you are violating that provision, 3 violation of anti-profiteering, violation of furnishing bank details. We have now bank details should be furnished within 45 days, that, or violation of rule 86B. Then last case, so 7th point, liability in GSTR1 greater than 3B for 1 or more tax periods. So GSTR1 we have added more liability than GSTR3B for 1 or more tax periods, or ITC in 3B is greater than ITC in 2B. Means you have taken more ITC in 3B than in 2B for 1 or more tax periods. Liability in GSTR1 greater than liability in 3B for 1 or more tax periods. Liability in 3B greater than ITC in 3B greater than ITC in 2B for 1 or more tax periods in that case. So these are the 7 points which is called as contravention of provisions that leads to cancellation of registration. Then whenever proper officer wanted to cancel or registered person make application for cancellation pending the proceedings. So for example, first I make an application for cancellation, or proper officer initiate cancellation. Now pending the cancellation proceedings, there is a time pending the time, so they can suspend our registration, but this suspension is not compulsory, it is optional at the discretion of the officer. Once a registered person has applied for cancellation of registration or proper officer seeks to cancel the registration, they may suspend the registration. They may suspend the registration during the pendency of the proceedings relating to cancellation of registration filed by that registered person. And suspension of the registration can be without affording reasonable opportunity of being heard, because already they gave a notice for cancellation. For cancellation only notice is required, not for suspension. So for suspension they can suspend any time. So now what are the situations? First, the registered person made an application for cancellation. From when suspension will begin? That registered person, when he makes application for cancellation, he will select one date with effect from which he wanted the registration to be cancelled. For example, I am making application on 25th September for cancellation from 1st October. So it will be counted from 1st October. Suppose I am making application on 25th September for cancellation from 1st September, then the suspension will start from the date of application. So whichever is later, the date selected in the application or the date of application, whichever is later, till the conclusion of cancellation proceedings. Suppose if proper officer initiate cancellation, then whichever date that is determined by them, so proper officer will tell from today your registration is suspended, like that, till the conclusion of cancellation proceedings. What will happen during this period of suspension? On outward supplies, I don't have to pay GST, so I cannot give tax invoice. On inward supply, I cannot take ITC, so I cannot file returns. So shall not make any taxable supply, that is make taxable supply but cannot issue tax invoice, or shall not be required to furnish any return under section 39. So this is what they need to do. And whenever the conclusion, upon conclusion of cancellation proceedings, what will happen? Either they will cancel or they will allow you to continue in registration. If they cancel, then the suspension will be withdrawn retrospectively from the date when it is granted. Suppose if they are asking you to continue also, the suspension will be withdrawn from the date when it is granted. The suspension of registration shall be deemed to be revoked upon completion of the cancellation proceedings by proper officer. Then there is something called as revocation of cancellation. Revocation of cancellation is, first the officer passed a cancellation order, but we don't want the registration to be cancelled. Now we can make an application for revocation of cancellation in REG 21. What is the time limit? Within 30 days from the cancellation order, and it can be extended for a further period of 30 days by additional or joint commissioner, and it can be extended for a further period of 30 days by commissioner. That is the time limit by which the registration, cancellation order can be revoked, for which we can make an application. And suppose if the registration is cancelled on account of non-filing of returns, we need to ensure that we are filing the returns first and then we are making application for cancellation. Okay. So now once we make application for cancellation within 30 days, the proper officer is satisfied, yes, then they will revoke the cancellation order in REG 22. No, not satisfied. Then they will give an opportunity of being heard to reply, and we need to give reply within 7 working days. Thereafter, within 30 days, if the proper officer is satisfied, they will revoke cancellation order, otherwise they will reject the application. Now, all the pending returns to be filed before revocation of cancellation, if the cancellation is on account of non-filing of returns. If the cancellation is revoked, then for that period, whatever returns we did not file, that returns we need to file within 30 days from the date of revocation. And other authentication is mandatory part. That is, whenever we make an application for cancellation, other authentication is now mandatory for filing application for revocation as well as application for cancellation. Okay. So these are the points related to registration. With that we completed. Now let's see the questions based on this. Look into this question number 1. State with brief reason whether the following suppliers of taxable goods are required to register under GST law. Mr. Raghav is engaged in wholesale cum retail trading of medicines in the state of Assam. Assam is not in the MMTN or USTAM, other states, that too engaged in exclusive supply of goods. His aggregate turnover during the financial year is 9 lakhs, which consists of 8 lakhs as intrastate and 1 lakh as interstate. Now, so even though the aggregate turnover does not exceed threshold limit, but this person is liable to get registered because he is making interstate supplies. So compulsory registration under section 24. Then Mr. S.N. Gupta of Rajasthan is engaged in trading of taxable goods on his own account and also acting as agent of Rishi of Delhi. A person who is acting as agent on behalf of supplier is also compulsorily required to get registered. So, 2 cases, the reference is section 24, a person who is making interstate supplies. Second case, a person who is an agent acting on behalf of principal. Compulsory registration irrespective of the threshold limit. Then question number 2, answer the following questions with respect to CTP, casual taxable person, under CGST Act. Who is a casual taxable person? Who occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods and or services in the course or furtherance of business, whether as a principal, agent or in any other capacity in a state or union territory where he has no fixed place of business. So then, can a casual taxable person opt for composition scheme? Yes, they can opt for composition scheme. No, they cannot opt for composition scheme. S9 RCM. In that C is casual taxable person, cannot opt for composition scheme. That is this. When is the casual taxable person liable to get registered? Liable to get registered at least 5 days before commencement of business, they need to make application for registration. And what is the validity period of registration certificate granted to a casual taxable person? Maximum 90 days, and it can be extended for a further period. Can a validity be extended? Yes, for a further period of 90 days it can be extended. So these are all the provisions related to CTP that is asked as 5 1-mark questions. Then next question number 3, just like question number 2, but this is NRTP. Mr. Allen, a non-resident person, wishes to provide taxable supply of goods. He has no fixed place of business or residence in India. He seeks your advice on the following aspects relating to CGST Act. When shall he apply for registration? At least 5 days before commencement of business. Is permanent account number mandatory for registration? No. Passport, based on valid passport he will be getting, and if he has any authorized signatory, that authorized signatory permanent account number can be submitted. What is the period of validity of registration certificate granted to them? Maximum 90 days. Will he be able to extend the validity? Yes. For extension of validity he can make an application for a further period not exceeding 90 days. That is this. Then question number 4, multiple attempts it has been asked. Determine the effective date of registration in the following instances. What will be taken as the effective date of registration? If a person is making application for registration within 30 days from the date when he is liable to get registered, then it will be the date on which he is liable to get registered will be taken as the effective date of registration. If the application for registration is not made within 30 days, then the date on which registration certificate is granted is taken as the effective date of registration. That we discussed in invoice and time of supply under revised tax invoice. Here, the aggregate turnover of Madhu Limited engaged in taxable supply of services in the state of Punjab exceeded 20 lakhs on 25th August. It applied for registration on 19th September. It is within 30 days. So 25th August will be taken as the effective date of registration. Okay. Then next, second one, what will be your answer in the above scenario if Madhu Limited submits the application on 27th September, when they are liable to get registered 25th August. So 27th September is beyond 30 days. Then in that case, the date on which they get the registration certificate, what is the date on which they get the registration certificate? 5th October. So that 5th October will be taken as the effective date of registration. Then question number 5, determine with brief reasons whether the following statement is true or false. Registration under CGST Act can be cancelled by proper officer if the voluntarily registered person has not commenced a business within 3 months from the date of registration. False. Within 6 months. Within 6 months. So the said statement is false. Then question number 6, Pure Oils Delhi has started the supply of machine oils and high speed diesel in the month of April. The following details have been furnished. Supply of machine oils in Delhi. So they are doing business in Delhi. Delhi means applicable limit will be 40 lakhs if they are exclusively engaged in supply of goods. Otherwise it will be 20 lakhs. So here they are making machine oils in Delhi 20 lakhs goods, high speed diesel in Delhi goods, supply made through Fortis lubricant, an agent of Pure Oils in Delhi goods, supply made by Pure Oils from its branch located in Punjab. So they are doing business in Delhi and Punjab, more than one state, and none of the state is MMTN new stamp. So the applicable limit will be 40 lakhs. Now what is their aggregate turnover? While counting aggregate turnover, non-taxable supplies, taxable supplies exempted, everything should be taken. Even if they make supplies through agent also, that should be taken. So therefore everything you need to take, and that comes to 37,55,000, and the applicable threshold limit is 40 lakhs. Therefore they are not liable to get registered. Now what will be your answer if they make supply of machine oils amounting to 2,50,000 from its branch located in Himachal Pradesh in addition to the above mentioned supplies? The answer will remain the same, because once Himachal Pradesh in addition to above, then already how much? 37,55,000 plus 2,50,000, more than 40 lakhs. Now in that case, as their aggregate turnover exceeded the threshold limit, they need to register, and they need to register in which states? They need to register in all the states from where they make taxable supplies. But here the question is, are they liable to get registered or not? Yes, they are liable to get registered. Then question number 7, examine whether the supplier is liable to be registered in the following independent cases. Raghav of Assam is exclusively engaged in intrastate taxable supply of ready-made garments. Assam. So single state, and that is not in MMTN new stamp other states, that too only supply of goods. Therefore it will be 40 lakhs. His turnover in the current financial year from Assam is 28 lakhs. He has another showroom in Tripura with a turnover of 11 lakhs. So multiple states, more than one state, Tripura. So the applicable limit will be 10 lakhs. The applicable limit will be 10 lakhs in this case. So A, it is 10 lakhs. Sorry, first one, the applicable limit is 10 lakhs and it exceeded 10 lakhs. So therefore they need to register in Assam and Tripura. Pulkit of Panjim, Goa is exclusively engaged in intrastate taxable supply of shoes. His aggregate turnover in the current financial year is 22 lakhs. Single state, and it is other than MMTN new stamp. The applicable limit is 40 lakhs. In this case it does not exceed 40 lakhs. Therefore they are not required to get registered. Okay. Then third point, Harshit of Himachal Pradesh is exclusively engaged in intrastate supply of pan masala, even though it is other than MMT and U-stamp and exclusively engaged in supply of goods, but as they are engaged in supply of notified goods, so the limit will be 20 lakhs. In this case, their aggregate turnover 24 lakhs, therefore they need to register. So 20 lakhs will be taken as the limit and they are required to get registered. Then fourth, Ankita of Assam is exclusively engaged in intrastate supply of taxable services. Services default 20 lakhs and their aggregate turnover is 25 lakhs. Therefore, they are required to get registered because aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. Then Sanchit of Assam is engaged in intrastate supply of both taxable goods and service, then also 20 lakhs. Both goods and service also the limit will be 20 lakhs, and here in this case as the aggregate turnover exceed 20 lakhs, so Sanchit is liable to get registered as the turnover exceeds threshold limit. Then question number 8. Messrs. THARUN is a trader of decorative items in House Khans, Delhi. His aggregate turnover exceeded 40 lakhs in the month of October. He applied for GST registration on GST portal but missed to submit the details of bank account. His consultant advised him that prior submission of bank details is mandatory to obtain registration. Examine whether the advice of Mr. THARUN'S tax consultant is correct. No, it is not correct. Why? Because the application for registration can be made even without bank details, and thereafter within 45 days or due date of filing 3B, whichever is earlier, they need to furnish the bank details. Okay. Then next question number 9. However, this bank details relaxation is not available for those who are granted registration as TDS or TCS. Okay. Then question number 9. PBD Private Limited of Gujarat exclusively manufactures and sells product Z, which is exempted wide notification issued under relevant GST legislations. Okay. The company sells product Z only in Gujarat and is not registered in under GST laws. The turnover of the company in the previous year was 50 lakhs. The company expects the sales to grow in the current year 2019-20. With effect from 1/1/2020, exemption available on Z was withdrawn. So already, they are making exclusively exempted supply, so they have not registered. Now 1/1/2020, the exemption was withdrawn, and up to the date the turnover was 42 lakhs, so that exceeded the threshold limit. So therefore, within 30 days from 1/1/2020, they need to make application for registration. So within 30 days from 1/1/2020, they need to make application for registration, because within 30 days from the date when they are liable to get registered. Then that too, why applicable threshold limit is 40 lakhs? Because they are engaged in exclusive supply of goods in Gujarat, so 40 lakhs is the limit. Then question number 10. Mr. Akash Malhotra of Gujarat often participates in the jewellery exhibition at trade fair in Delhi, which is organized every year in the month of February. Mr. Akash Malhotra applied for registration in January. The proper officer demanded an advance deposit of tax in an amount equivalent to the estimated tax liability of Akash Malhotra. You are required to examine whether any advance tax is to be paid by Akash Malhotra at the time of obtaining registration. So when they are participating in the jewellery exhibition at a trade fair, means they will be going to the other state to make supply of goods or services, and they don't have any physical place of business in that state, which means that they need to obtain registration as a casual taxable person. And every casual taxable person should estimate their net liability, and they need to deposit the advance tax for the period for which they have made application for registration as a casual taxable person. Then question number 11. Explain the registration requirements under GST law in the following independent cases. Mr. Ahmad of Jammu engaged in business of supplying tobacco based pan masala with an aggregate turnover of 24 lakhs. Jammu and Kashmir, pan masala, so exclusive supply of goods, even then 20 lakhs is the limit. 40 lakhs will not come. And then Therefore, they are liable to get registered. Mr. Lepcha of Mizoram is engaged in supply of papers with an aggregate turnover of 13 lakhs. So, Mizoram, the applicable limit will be 10 lakhs, here it is 13 lakhs. Therefore, they exceeded 10 lakhs, they are liable to get registered. What will be your answer if Mr. Lepcha is located in Meghalaya? For Meghalaya, limit will be 20 lakhs, as the aggregate turnover does not exceed 20 lakhs. So, therefore, they are not required to get registered. Then, question number 12. Examine whether the liability to register compulsorily under section 24 of CGST Act arises in each of the independent cases mentioned below. Hira, a supplier in Haryana, is exclusively engaged in supply of potatoes produced out of cultivation of his own land within Haryana and also outside Haryana. So, in this case, Haryana, Hira is a supplier in Haryana exclusively engaged in supply of potatoes produced out of cultivation of his own land within Haryana as well as outside Haryana. So, an agriculturist who is exclusively engaged in supply of agricultural produce out of cultivation of land is exempted from registration. Okay. And section 24 says a person who is making interstate supplies is compulsorily required to get registered. But here they are not liable to get registered because 23 will override 24. So, therefore, they are not required to get registered in this case. Okay. Then another question, Ananya of Telangana is exclusively engaged in intrastate supply of toys. Telangana, limit will be 20 lakhs. Even though exclusively engaged in supply of goods, but it is U stamp, T, Telangana. So, 20 lakhs is the limit and their aggregate turnover exceed 20 lakhs. Therefore, Ananya is required to get registered. Then question number 13. Q Limited is engaged exclusively in supply of taxable goods from the following states. Whether one of the state is a special category state, yes, Tripura, therefore the applicable limit will be 10 lakhs and their aggregate turnover exceeded threshold limit, therefore they are required to get registered. Then will your answer be different if supplies of only petrol and diesel from Tripura instead of any other taxable goods? Yes, then the applicable limit will be 20 lakhs. And in this case it is the applicable limit will be 20 lakhs and enhanced limit of 40 lakhs is not applicable. So, actually the answer is wrong here in this question. The enhanced limit is not applicable in case of MMTN U stamp. Tripura is there. Enhanced limit 40 lakhs will not be applicable. Actually, this is not given in the answer in the RTP. Thus, it is liable to be registered as its aggregate turnover exceeds the set threshold limit. Because once you are making supplies in MMTN U stamp, the higher limit of 40 lakhs will not be applicable. This is a mistake in the RTP. Okay. Then next one. So I think it's RTP question only. No, December 21 question. It's a mistake there. Then another question number 14. Mr. Q, a casual taxable person of Gujarat state, is a trader of taxable notified handicraft goods. CTP of notified handicraft goods is required to register only when aggregate turnover exceeds threshold limit, because compulsory registration is not applicable for handicraft goods. It makes supplies to states of Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh. Turnover for October is 18 lakhs. Explain the provisions of registration for casual taxable person. So, they need to register, but compulsorily if they are making interstate supply of handicraft, they need to register only when aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. And in this case, Q is engaged in supply of handicraft, so they don't have to register because their aggregate turnover is only 18 lakhs. What will be the answer if Q makes trading in taxable notified products instead of taxable notified handicrafts, which involves 75% making on machine and 25% by hand? So, that is, it is not handicrafts, only handicraft that relaxation is. In this case, compulsory registration. So, they are mandatorily required to get registered. What is handicrafts? Means 100% it is made using hand, that is only called as handicrafts. Then next question. Mr. X of Haryana intends to start business of supply of building material to various construction sites in Haryana. He has taken voluntary registration under GST in the month of April. However, he has not commenced the business till December. So, when he took April. So May, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, more than 6 months. The proper officer suo motu cancel the registration. Yes, proper officer can initiate cancellation of registration. And Mr. X has applied for revocation of cancellation after 40 days from the date of cancellation. So 40 days means already 30 days over. Then that extra time limit is subject to approval by additional or joint commissioner. Department contends that application for revocation can be made within 30 days. However, X contends that it may be extended on the sufficient ground shown. Yes, on sufficient ground shown, additional or joint commissioner can extend it for a further period of 30 days and commissioner can extend it for a further period of 30 days. Therefore, department is not correct in this regard. Then next question, what is the validity period of the registration certificate issued to a casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person? Maximum 90 days. And it can be extended for a further period of 90 days. Does cancellation of registration impose any tax obligation on the person whose registration is so cancelled? Yes. As per section 29 subsection 5, whenever a person's registration has been cancelled, so much of the ITC availed on the closing stock shall be reversed. Okay. And also if there is any shortfall, he need to pay. If there is any balance in ITC, that will be lapsed. So that is the point with respect to this. So these are the questions on registration. So with this successfully we completed all the chapters. There is only one concept block that is left. Not concept block, that is actually consolidated questions is only left. So that consolidated questions, as many students requested me to upload it in my YouTube channel. So therefore you can check that from the YouTube channel also. So this will be there in the YouTube channel, this appendix A, because many students ask me how to solve, sir, can you please take it? So that's why I will be putting it in my YouTube channel, Tarun's Brainery YouTube channel. You can watch in that, this area. But first practice it and then cross check the answers. And then I have given last some summary. That summary I will be doing one day before exam, revision in my YouTube. Before that also you can revise it multiple times. So that is a section summary, then various time limits, various monetary limits. So with this, successfully we have completed this fast track batch. Thank you for your patience and understanding my situation also, and all the very best for your exams. Don't worry, till the time you are going for exam, I will be there. So whatever queries that you have, whatever support you need, you can ping me on the Telegram. I will be able to help you out. Once again, all the best. Take care and bye.